Great. Hello, everyone. Hello, officially hello, yeah. I'm Daniela Gana from the PMI Romania chapter. Thank you so much for being with us today here. I hope you can hear me. If you can give me a sign that it's all okay. Thank you, Elena. Thank you, everyone. Um, I'm happy that you are here with us because we prepared this PM Trilogy live online webinars for you this month. We are very happy that we have three speakers here with us. Not today, yeah, not all of them today, just Elena today, and tomorrow Cristina Olaru and Cristina Niculescu. We'll have today the webinar about the ego states, how this shapes project communication with Elena Bitan. Tomorrow we'll discuss about PMI Infinity and we will see a real demo on the platform and we can put a lot of questions. Yeah, so prepare your questions for tomorrow. Don't be shy. And on our third day from the trilogy, we will have Cristina Niculescu with Project Leadership 2.0 from managing projects to leading with impact. Also, don't be afraid to have some questions for the third webinar. I will give access to the other ones on the meeting. I hope they are okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome. So as I said before, the trilogy is starting with our first speaker, Elena Bitan. Elena, I hope it's Bitan correctly me?
Bitan.
Correct.
Bitan.
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 Yeah.
Yes, so Bitan, guys. Elena is a senior project manager at OMV Petrom. She has over a decade of experience leading complex initiatives in finance, process improvement, and data governance. It's also PMP certified. Go and a leader, and she has a passion about topics like I don't know, clarity and effective communication. And today, yeah, she will show us how ego states shape and how this will can shape our messages and our results in the project. So Elena, thank you so much again that you are here with us, and welcome to our little webinar.
Thanks a lot, Daniela. Thanks a lot for the invitation, first of all, and thank you all for the introduction on this. Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining the session. It's quite a late hour in the evening, so I'm just hoping that the presentation will be engaging and you'll find some nice things that you can also apply in the project management world, but also in your personal communication, I would say. It's not an academic presentation, it's neither a technical one. So I would expect to be more of a relaxed presentation for these late hours. Good. Why I'm actually choosing this topic of communication and transactional analysis is because of a passion, a hobby that I'm having for quite some years now. I also graduated from psychology as a second university, and this was actually some time ago. I haven't actually practiced, but it's something that I also find useful in my day-to-day job. Now, project managers in average spend, we all know, 90% of their time on communication. The communication, though, contains more components. It's the what, it's the why, and the how. Now, today we are going to focus on the how part, how we interact with other, how we get hooked maybe in certain patterns that we cannot get out of those patterns. And I plan to give you here some structured and easy to understand. I don't know, Daniela, if you can. Oh, okay.
All
Yep.
good now?
The plan is to give you a bit of structure and some easy to understand bits of theory that can be applied in the daily practice. But before we begin, I want to actually take you beneath the surface, quite literally, and this image here represents the iceberg of the human behavior. And just like in project, what we see is only the tip of the iceberg. Whenever we interact with colleagues, with stakeholders, with team members, we only see this visible part, which is their behavior. Like someone is late with a task, someone may seem stressed, someone can react defensively, or a team member avoiding a meeting, or someone that we think is not caring enough. But behavior is only the surface. Underneath it, just like the massive part of this iceberg, there is a whole psychological structure that shapes every decision, every reaction, every conflict, and even every success in a project. And below this waterline, we can find our mindset, our values, our beliefs, our driver. And the drivers are that inner pressure that we are having for being perfect, for pleasing others, for being strong. We can also find our emotional wounds, or the things that we have learned from our parents, the values, the preconceptions sometimes, the ego states. And this is something that we are going to discuss in more details today. The life positions, which are the windows through which we are actually seeing the world and us in the world as well. Our childhood experience, our trauma, and eventually also our life script. The life script is, in transactional analysis, this unconscious story that we build in our childhood and we continue to live as adult human beings. And this is where project management becomes deeply human, because they are not just about Gantt charts, about risks, or about tasks and deliverables. They are actually built on people, and people act from what lies beneath of this surface. And if we want real communication, healthy teams, successful outcomes, we cannot only work with this tip of the iceberg, with the behavior. We need to understand what is really underneath. And today the goal would be to take you on a short journey into this psychological layer and show you how some concepts like ego states, life positions, can dramatically improve how we communicate, can also prevent psychological gains into our projects, and we'll talk in a few about those as well. Because the more we understand what lies below the surface, the better we can also navigate what happens above it. So, long story short, learning objective for today, and my aim would be that by end of the session, you will be able to recognize ego states, their impact in project communication, identify the three types of transactions, which are complementary, crossed, and ulterior transactions, and how they work in the team dynamics, understand the life positions and drama triangle in conflict scenario, and be able to spot psychological gains that may affect project collaboration. And because we have talked about transactional analysis, what is actually this transactional analysis? It sounds something between interactions, maybe some investment even. I heard one person thinking that it has something to do with a financial investment. No, not really. It's actually a psychoanalytic theory, and it's also a method of therapy where these social interactions between people, which are called transactions, are actually analyzed to determine the ego state of the communicator, whether it is a parent-like, child-like, or adult-like, as a basis for understanding the behavior. And it has been developed by this guy, Eric Byrne, somewhere in the late 1950s. But I would say it's still actual, and it has a development more recently in this area of organizational transactional analysis, which is a discipline with a focus on enabling effective communication in all levels of the organization. And a first model that I'm going to present you today is this ego states model, or the structural model, which is saying that we all interact with other from one of the three ego states that you can see in here, either the parent ego state, the adult ego state, or the child ego state. But maybe to truly grasp this model, I would invite you to reflect the last 24 hours of your professional life. Were there moments when you acted, thought, or felt exactly like you did as a child? Like maybe one senior stakeholder challenged your project timeline and you felt a bit of guilt, just like when you was in school and the teacher scolded you. And now, I mean, even if you are an experienced and a seasoned project manager, that emotional response is still echoing from your childhood. You can raise your hand if something similar happened, or maybe you were late to an important meeting, let's say a steering committee meeting, and have you felt a familiar panic? Like the same one that you had when you were running late for a class in school. Or maybe a colleague got praised for an idea or for a solution that you also had in your mind, or you even suggested earlier. And you felt like a bit overlooked. And this can be the same emotion when maybe your siblings, brothers, sisters got more attention at home. So this is in general the child ego state. So those moments when our child ego state takes over, and it's not because we are immature enough, and it's rather because those emotional patterns are so deeply embedded into us. And on the other side, we also have this parent ego state. Now you can think of moments when you acted, thought, or felt in ways that you have inherited from your parents, from your grandparents, from your aunts, uncles, older sisters, brothers, or teachers, in general, authority figures. And for example, during an agile project, let's say, and the stressful sprint review, you might say, like, this kind of sloppiness is unacceptable. We are professionals. And that judgmental tone is actually echoing a critical parent from our childhood. Or when a more junior team member asks a basic questions, and you might think in your mind, how can they actually not know this? And you feel that irritation in your entire body. It's not just the judgment you are doing in your mind. You actually feel it in your body. You are somehow even annoyed by the question, or something even more familiar. Think about the traffic, especially in Bucharest, is insane, right? How many times haven't you said to yourself and matter like, people like this shouldn't be allowed to drive? Yeah, that is a classical critical parent reaction. And these are moments when we are actually copying behaviors, thoughts, feelings from our internalized parental figures. And sometimes these are helpful, but some other times they may be limiting us. And then in the middle, we have the adult ego state, Well, the adult is the part of us that is usually responding to the present moment and is responding to the present moment with clarity, with logic. For example, whenever we are reviewing a risk register, we are calmly assessing mitigation strategies. That's our adult at work. When we are preparing a Gantt chart, when we are preparing a project charter, assessing the work that we need to fulfill. Or maybe when a stakeholder pushes back and you say, let's look at the data, maybe revisit the assumptions that we initially did. You are operating from your adult ego state. And even in moments of pressure, I mean, don't think that we are only using the adult in moments of life and career where there is no pressure. No, I mean, imagine you are having a system outage, and if you are staying focused, you are delegating tasks, you are acting without panic. That's your adult ego state that is overriding the fear response of the child. And the adult in general doesn't ignore the emotions. It simply integrates them and is the part of us that is solving the problem, is making the decision, and communicates effectively in accordance to the here and now situation. And one more thing to add here is that none of these ego states are good or bad. And we all use all three ego states in our communication. And in order to lead projects well and to also lead ourselves, we need all the three ego states because the adult helps us to navigate complexity, make rational decisions. The parent gives us the structure, the values, the standards that are also guiding us as human beings. And also the child reconnects us with creativity, with authenticity. And in general, in healthy communication, we don't suppress any of these states, but we learn to recognize and balance them and use them right. Now, this is the structural model, but the structural model is showing us what is contained in each of the ego states. Now we also have the deeper model, which is the functional model that is also showing us the negative and positive sides of each ego state. And for example, here, let's take the child ego state. So we already saw that this is where our emotional responding and our early coping strategies that we have learned in our childhood are stored. And it's also subdivided into two parts. We have the adapted child and we have the free child. Now, the adapted child, for example, as professionals in general, we often follow some unspoken rules in order to be accepted, in order to be successful. And this is part of the adapted child. But it also has two faces to that. The positive adapted child, which is accommodated, assertive, cooperative. For example, most of us, right, start every email, every conversation with, I'm hoping you had a good day. I'm hoping you are doing well. And we end that email with whatever, thanks in advance, best regards. And we are not doing this because we are told to, but because it's polite and it's something that we learned early in our childhood, that it keeps somehow relationships smooth if we do so. Or maybe we double check a presentation before we send it to a senior stakeholder, just like we learned to be prepared and to do our homeworks in school. But it also, and this is the positive side of the adapted child. But it also has the negative side associated to it. For example, a manager could assign a last minute task to us. And instead of raising concern, we quietly miss the deadline because of the fear of having that conversation, because of the fear of authority, or maybe fear of saying no. And there is some emotional trigger in us when we are doing so. I mean, it's not healthy at all. Or whenever we have to deliver a presentation to a larger group, right? And we feel a bit nervous presenting in front of a large group of people or presenting in front of the leadership team of our company. We may blush sometime, we may stumble. This is actually echoing the same fear of being teased in school in front of the class with the other children. And it's something, again, that it's very rooted inside of us emotionally. Or maybe there is a playful environment with colleagues in a meeting, and you just avoid um, joking or being playful in that meeting because you learned very early that acting silly is something that is not acceptable. Maybe your parents were not allowing for this kind of behavior. And what we need to remember is that in general, these behaviors may not serve in our adult roles. They are echoes of childhood strategies, and they can be replaced with present day responses. Now, this was the adapted child. Now we have on the right side here the free child. And this is where creativity, spontaneity, authenticity in general lies. And we have a positive side of the free child, which is creative, curious, playful. Even the presentation that I'm delivering today is something that I don't usually do in my job, right? I'm a project manager. I usually do projects. But it's something that where I have put a bit of creativity, something that I also enjoy doing. So I have worked for it from this energy of the positive free child. But even in work-related activities, whenever, I don't know, you are preparing for an event and you think of all sort of creative stuff to do for the participants. That is the creative energy of the free child. Or you proposed a gamified retrospective for an agile project, or you laugh with your team during a tough project or during a tough sprint. And in this way, you actually help everyone to decompress. But it has also its negative side. For example, if you interrupt a serious meeting with an off-topic joke that is derailing the entire conversation, that is somehow the negative free child. Or you just ignore the deadlines because I didn't feel like working today. That's again a bit of a negative free child, or it's also called rebellious child. Now, let's go also to the parent ego state. This is again reflecting the values and the behaviors that we have inherited from authority figures, from parents, grandparents, teachers, etc. And the parent ego state is subdivided into the controlling parent and nurturing parent. Positive controlling parent is in general constructive, organizing, and firm. It's a positive authority. It's setting some positive directions. For example, if you are telling or instructing a junior project manager Always try to log the risks early in the project because it protects the project. You are actually giving that kind of clear direction, though it comes from an authority state. It's actually a positive thing to do. Or you may be enforcing your project scope boundaries to prevent burnout for you and your team. And you are saying very firm, we are not adding features in the middle of the sprint. This is actually helping you set very clear boundaries, and it's again something positive. But it's also the negative controlling parent, and this is um, autocratic, dismissive, and very judgmental. When you say this report is a mess, how could you even send this mess to me? You are echoing here a critical parent from your past, or maybe a colleague in a meeting has an idea and you just dismiss the idea with, come on, shut up, that won't work. Trust me, I have tried that. Without even exploring it. And in general, it's making the other person feel not okay. Um, so it can bring structure on the positive side, but can also shut down any collaboration on the negative side, depending on how and when it is actually used. Now, if you are in danger, for example, and you are using the negative controlling parent, this should also be okay because you are in danger and you need to put some very strict limits. Now, let's look to at the nurturing parent. The positive nurturing parent is in general supportive, compassionate, caring. For example, if you notice a teammate who is overwhelmed and you try to reprioritize work together and tell him, okay, let's do some prioritization. You are not alone. You can count on me. Let's do this together. You know, you are in this positive, nurturing parent ego state. Or when you are celebrating some small wins with your team, and you are boosting the morale of your team and you are caring for them, that is the moment where you are in this positive nurturing parent energy. Negative nurturing parent, on the other side, is to actually take over someone's task in order to help them, and you are somehow undermining their ownership. You are undermining their ability to handle that independently. They haven't even asked for your support, and you offer it unsolicited. The same with unsolicited advices that sometimes we may tend to give to other people from a sort of place of superiority. Let me show you how it's really done. Let me show you this. Let me do this for you. When actually no one asked for anything from our side. So the nurturing parent can foster care on the positive side, but can also become a bit overbearing if it's not grounded in respect for the others. Now, the adult ego state is not subdivided. It responds to the here and now situations in general, and it mediates between the child and the parent ego state. It's the rational, present focused mind. It's not subdivided. It's our anchor. Why this shall matter even in project work? Because in general, in all kind of communication, not only in project environments, we constantly shift between these ego states. And the key is to actually be aware and ask ourselves, are we actually reacting from old patterns that we have learned in the childhood, or am I responding with maturity? And usually what it helps is to take some time and before you respond, when you feel a wave of emotion in your entire body, it's that time when you need to stop and reflect. Are we leading with empathy? Are we leading with structure, with spontaneity? Are we helping the team move forward? These are questions, and in general, awareness of our communication and of the others' communication improve project a lot. Now, in any exchange, we communicate out of one of the three ego states: parent, adult, or child. In general, communication flows smoothly when the ego states are complementary, meaning that the response that we get is matching the tone and the intention of the initial message and comes from the ego state to which it was addressed. And let's take a first example here. For example, you are a senior project manager and you tell a junior project manager, you have done a great job handling that stakeholder call. I know it wasn't easy. And then you get back the response from the junior project manager who is saying, thanks, I really appreciate the support. I was nervous, but try to stay calm. It's an example of communication from the controlling positive parent to the adapted child. And as a project manager, I'm addressing to that ego state of adapted child, and the response comes back from the same ego state to which I was addressing initially. Another example, the project manager can ask a team member, have you updated the risk register? Team member can reply back, yes, I've added the new vendor-related risks and flagged them for review. Adult to adult communication. PM has asked about a work-related task, and the response came back also from the adult ego state. No conflict, no escalation, it's easy and smooth communication. Another example from child to child. PM can say, let's turn this sprint review into a mini retrospective game, something fun to do. The team member could say, yes, let's do a quiz or a board game format. I've got some ideas, super fun, let's do this. But imagine what would happen if instead of this positive free child response, we would get back a response from the negative adapted child. Like, I'm having 20 overtime hours per week, and you are all for fun things, really? Come on. So that kind of situation would actually switch the entire communication and would lead us to what we call these crossed transactions in project communication. And a cross transaction occurs when one person communicates to a specific ego state, like either the parent, the adult, or the child, and the response comes back from a mismatched state. And this misalignment can trigger a lot of emotional reaction, defensiveness, or even conflict. And a cross transaction is occurring when response comes from a different ego state. And let's take an example because it would be easier to grasp. For example, project manager can ask, can you send me the updated timeline? It's asking this question from the adult and is addressing to the adult ego state of the other person. But instead of receiving a response back from the adult, is receiving back a response from the critical parent. You are always asking last minute, why don't you plan better? Well, This response is shifting the tone of the entire communication from neutral to judgmental. And it's triggering in general defensiveness and potentially escalating tension. And it's an easy example, but you can imagine, I mean, even more complex conversations. And this type of cross transactions are very common in high pressure environments when we have to deal with tight deadlines. And they often trigger this kind of emotional reaction. They usually escalate. They slow down progress in the team. How can we actually, what can we actually do about it? And is it any way that we can get the conversation back to the adult ego state? Well, yes. First of all, you need to stay in adult and avoid reacting emotionally or defensively. I mean, even this would be the natural reaction. We just need to be aware of it. The goal is to de-escalate the situation and not to escalate it further. And you need to bring the conversation back to facts, back to collaboration. For example, we could say, I understand this has been frustrating, but I don't know, I'm asking now so we can align and avoid further delays. Can you maybe share the latest version that you are having? And somehow this is acknowledging the tension without further feeding it. And we can also switch our focus on the task and not on the emotion. Then, if the stakeholder, for example, continues in a critical parent tone, the project manager can also gently name the dynamic that he sees and invite maybe to a bit of more constructive exchange. So, for example, we can reply something like, I'd really appreciate if we could look at this together from a planning perspective. I'm here to solve, I'm not here to blame. So this is somehow signaling emotional maturity and redirects the tone of the communication. If the pattern repeats, we can also assert boundaries while also staying professional, like I'm committing to improving timelines and I actually really need your input in order to do that. Let's focus on what we can control now. So in order to reinforce accountability without again escalating the conflict. And in general, this helps because it keeps the project manager in our situation in this adult ego state. It prevents de-escalation into a child, or because it could easily escalate either in the free rebel negative child or into the critical parent as well. And it encourages the stakeholder also to shift back into the adult ego state. Escalation in cross transactions, and we have here another example. Have you written the report? Is the question addressed by the PM, adult to adult question. Response comes back from child ego state. Why do you keep bossing me around? I'll do it eventually. And then we might be tempted to reply back also from the critical parent, and we might say that attitude of yours won't help the team. So in this way, we are just continuing this kind of unconstructive communication between the two persons, and it will go in cycle again and again until the team member will get eventually into a victim position, and we will become the persecutor at the end of the conversation. And you can imagine how much it could potentially escalate. Good. So this was the second No, I have also included an example of how we are actually bringing back the conversation to adult to adult. So have you written the report? Why do you keep bossing me around? I'll do it eventually. What could the PM say in order to bring back the communication to adult ego state? Well, we could say, I'm not trying to pressure you. I just need clarity on the timeline so we can plan accordingly and somehow recognizing the emotion of the other people. So validating it. Okay, I have noticed you are nervous, but you are angry, but I'm actually not trying to pressure you here. And this would be the constructive way to bring the communication back to adult ego state. Determining the ego states in communication. And we have some examples here that I was thinking maybe we can practice together. And we have a first example where the project manager is saying, I've noticed the report had some inconsistencies this month. And then the team member is replying back, why are you always criticizing my work? What do you think? What are the, and you can write in the chat. What are the ego states that are involved in this example for the PM and for the team member? Adult, child. Exactly. Person A is initiating adult to adult transaction. However, the team member is responding from the child ego state, and it's the negative adapted ego state here. Now, possibly it's based on past experiences that he was having as a child of being judged, for example. A second example is that PM is saying, I've noticed the report has some inconsistencies this month, so it's the same. And then the team member is replying, reports are boring anyway. I'd rather be out having fun right now. What do you think are now the ego states? And this kind of reaction is honestly also the most difficult one to manage. Same adult child, but this time we have the negative free child into play. And rebellious child, exactly, Doina. Da. This one is also the most difficult to manage in the professional world and also in the personal world as well. And now we have the complementary transactions, which are the smooth, flawless. We also discussed about the cross transactions when the ego state to which I am addressing is different from the ego state from which I get the response back. But also, we have this kind of ulterior transactions, they are called. And here, Eric Byrne describes that we communicate at two levels. And we have a social message, which is the actual words that we say. And we have this psychological message, which is the underlying intent or the emotional tone of our message. And in an ulterior transaction, these two levels actually run in parallel and they contradict each other. And this is why the listener is speaking on the psychological message, not just on the literal words that we are saying. Why it matters for project works? Because we always seek clarity, we always seek trust, and ulterior transaction can create confusion, can create misinterpretation. They can also trigger emotional response. They can undermine collaboration. They can even undermine our credibility. And let's take again an example of such ulterior transactions. The project manager can say, for example, you are free to leave early if you've finished everything. And these are purely adult words. But the tone of the voice, the body language, they can say this with that raised eyebrow, with that skeptical tone. And that emotional message is perceived, the tone of the communication instead of the words. And then the team member would say, okay, I guess I'll stay and finish the testing. I mean, it would be something like, you're free to leave early if you finished everything, which I doubt. So this is the psychological message, which I doubt. It's a bit of judgmental, but it's not said. It's rather expressed non-verbally. And this message somehow, the social one implies having a choice, but the psychological message suggests clearly the disapproval. And of course, the team member is picking up the emotional cue and not the literal permission, which was, however, not really given, right? Um, Good. Another example of ulterior transaction could be that project manager, for example, could say with adult words again, could you please double check the numbers in your report? But the tone and the body language are again from the critical parent, and they can have that exhaling in a noticeable way, like, could you please double check the numbers in your report? Like they are again not the right ones, yeah? And of course, the team member will pick again on this psychological message. And fine, I will redo it again. Now, even the social message is polite and is coming from adult. The psychological message here is fully judgmental, and the team member will respond to the tone, not to the words, and will lead to a lot of defensiveness from the other person in this case. How do we handle this type of ulterior transactions in general? By recognizing this mismatch between the words and the tone of the communication, and by staying in adult ego state, meaning that we need to respond to the content and not to the emotional tone, and even trying to clarify the intent if we feel that this is needed. For example, in this kind of situation, we could eventually say, like, I just want to double check. Are you concerned maybe about the report quality, or was that just a general reminder that you are sending to me? Now, in general, some points for the transactions is that the ideal line of business communication is the adult to adult relationship, mature, rational. When both people are engaged in complementary type of transactions, communication is easy. When each person is talking to a different level and we have that cross transactions, that we have all kind of communication problems that can occur. In this type of situation, we need first to go to the state of the other person and move ourselves and the other person into the adult level for this type of rational communication. Now, besides the ego states of the communication, we also have this model of the life positions, and these are somehow the windows or the glasses that we are all using for looking at the world around us. And here, Eric Berne proposed that every person is operating from this psychological state, which he called life position, which is influencing how they see themselves and how they see others. And these positions are often formed very early in life. It's said that it's even before 7 years old when all of these things are actually set in place and can unconsciously shape our behavior, our decision, our communication patterns, and of course, our professional work. And we have 4 life positions depending on the okayness level that I am with me and with the world outside. First, up left corner, I'm okay, you are okay. And this one, probably you guessed, is the most healthy and the most constructive life position. A person who operates from this life position in general, we trust our teams, we respect diverse opinions that we have in the team, we lead with confidence, with empathy. They can also give feedback without being judgmental. They also receive criticism without being defensive and can easily collaborate with other people even under pressure. An example here, I see where you're coming from. So when we are hearing something that is not necessarily in alignment with our values, with what we think about a specific situation, but let's find a solution that works for both of us. And in this way, we are showing like mutual respect, emotional maturity, solution-oriented thinking. As I said, healthiest life position. If we are in this most of the time, it's great. If not, we can still work and be more aware of possible other life positions that we are using. I'm okay, you're not okay. This is the second one. And this often shows up as superiority, sometimes blame, and even a lot of micromanagement. Even we are talking about project work or team management. A project manager with this life, acting from this life position, may view others as incompetent or unreliable, and could even take over tasks instead of delegated. And they also may struggle with trust and be tended to have this sense of control and a lot of criticism. Like, I'll just do it myself. I can't rely on anyone to get things right here. And it creates a lot of resentment. It erodes in time the team morale. The third life position is I'm not okay, you are okay. And this position in general reflects low self-worth and over-reliance on external validation that we need. And if, for example, a project manager is acting from this life position, they may in general avoid conflict, they may over-apologize, they may be hesitant on showing or addressing their ideas. They often seek approval, but they have a bit of struggle to accept praise, for example, or even owning their own achievements. Like, I'm not sure my input is valuable, but I'm just sharing it with you. You see what you're doing with it. I don't think it's really valuable, but have a look. And you somehow let others decide what they are going to do. Why it's bad? Because it eventually leads to burnout, underrepresentation of your ideas, and even missed leadership opportunities in many cases. And the fourth life position is I'm not okay, you are not okay. And this is the most withdrawn and the most disengaged life position. The project manager may feel hopeless, disconnected, even cynical about the project work and the project value, and even about the team. They may even stop trying to do things, isolate themselves from the team, avoid any decision. Like it doesn't matter whatever we do because nothing works anyway. And in general, it signals this type of emotional exhaustion and a potential burnout and some need for support. I would say it's even a pathological life position in general. Why this matters? The window that we use to look at the world outside and to look at our world inside. Because all the projects in general are challenging. Whenever it's a missed deadline, whenever it's a tense meeting, whenever we have a difficult stakeholder, that is dependent not just by what we are saying, but also by how we see ourselves and how we see other people. And recognizing our default life position can, first of all, improve our emotional intelligence, strengthen the relationship with the team, support healthier leadership habits, and at the end of the day, prevent burnout and disengagement for ourselves and for our teams. But what is strange, if we are to look at these pyramids, they also reveal psychological truth, um, and that is our life position is not necessarily a single thing. And in reality, there might be three layers, which are our central belief, our behavior, and our emotions. Ideally, they shall all be aligned. And probably this is why when some of the people we interact with seem so authentical to us and they seem like they are doing things really easy and everything is flawless and they are in that flow state. And all of this is because they have this kind of alignment between all the three layers. But that can also be that each layer reflects a different life position. So, for example, our central belief is our hidden layer. It's our fundamental view of the world, the deepest conviction that we have about ourselves and about others. And this can be I'm okay, I'm not okay, you're okay, or you're not okay. But this belief is usually something we are not necessarily conscious about. It's not what we say, it's actually the story we tell ourselves inside. So, for example, someone may carry the belief that I'm not okay, but you are okay. And this is like an inner sense of inferiority, of I'm not enough, an inner sense of self-doubt. But the second layer, which is the behavior, doesn't always match this belief. So, in this case, when someone who believes deeply in the central belief, I'm not okay, you are okay, may also behave like I'm okay, you are not okay. Why? In order to hide, first of all, their insecurity, in order to protect themselves, to avoid being exposed, being vulnerable. And this is the classic pattern on the right side, which is called the abuser pattern. So it's usually a person who feels inferior inside, but behaves superior outside and at the level that we can identify and see. And now we also have this third level, the emotional level, which is how we really feel. How we really feel. And sometimes the emotion is different from both the belief and the behavior. For example, in this aggressor type, the belief is I'm not okay, you are okay, but I'm behaving like I'm okay and you are not in order to hide my insecurity and show confidence instead. But deep inside, I might feel that I'm not okay, you are not okay either. So this means that inside, I'm actually overwhelmed, I'm disappointed in both myself and other people. The insight from here is that um, the three surfaces of, or the three layers of this pyramid can all tell different stories. One for the outside world, and one for our conscious mind, and one for our deeper emotional reality. And this is exactly why people tend to confuse us, because the behavior we see is not always the truth. And it's often also a protective mask for the belief and the emotions that are living underneath. And when someone is acting aggressively, just remember they may actually feel vulnerable. And when someone avoids taking decision, they may believe they are not okay and may feel insecure. And when someone dominates meetings, they may be hiding some fear behind that behavior, or even some shame. And we must all acknowledge those and be aware of these feelings of people. If you want to assess your own life position, I will share the presentation after the session, and you will also receive it. It's a quick questionnaire here, and you also have the interpretation as well on the right side, depending on which are the questions. And for sure, you can find even more on the internet if you Google for that. Now, the next topic, and really important to and tied to both ego state and life position, is this Stephen Karpman's drama triangle. Powerful tool for analyzing dysfunctional patterns in our communication, because it shows how in moments of tension or intense emotional reactivity, people unconsciously fall into one of these three roles of the drama triangle. And these are the persecutor. It's all your fault. This is the cue, how you recognize the persecutor. The rescuer or the savior. Let me help you. You didn't ask, but let me help you. And the victim. Now, poor me, when I feel that nothing is under my control, and poor me, I'm only a victim. And what we need to remember is that all these roles are inauthentic. They are not grounded in the present. They are disregarding all the resources that we have in the present moment. But they lay in our emotional scripts from the childhood, or in learned behavior from authority figures. And they all three reflect life positions where at least one or even both parties are seen as not okay. So, for example, the persecutor. In general, they put other down, they criticize a lot, they tend to have this control. And in terms of life position, they operate from I'm okay, you are not okay. And they are disregarding other people's dignity, other people's competence, because they come with that judgmental. You are not good enough. You cannot do anything. And other people autonomy. No, you've messed up the report again. I don't know why I even trust you with this task. And in team environment, this role may emerge, especially under stress, when deadlines aren't met, for example. But it creates a lot of fear in the team, a lot of resentment, a lot of disengagement. Then we have the second life position, which is the rescuer. It might sound good, but it's not really, because in general they take over tasks. They tend to overfunction. They have this tendency of saving others, when in reality other people are having their own resources to save themselves. And especially if they are not asking for help and support. And they are also operating in terms of life position from I'm okay, you're not okay, because it's obviously you cannot help yourself and you will need me to help you and drag you from where you are. And we are somehow disregarding other people's ability to think and act independently on their own. Let me fix this for you. You're clearly overwhelmed. So undermining confidence and reinforcing somehow the other people's dependency. It often leads to burnout for the rescuer itself, and frustration for the other people, because they see they are not able to do anything on their own. And we also have the third actor in the drama triangle, and this is the victim. And in general, the victim is feeling powerless, overwhelmed, unfairly treated by others. And they are operating from this life position of I'm not okay, you are okay. And in general, they disregard their own strengths, their own power, and the control that most of the times we are having on any type of context and situation. Like, no one listens to me anyway. I'll just do what I'm told. That's it. And important to know here is that victims in general may seek for a persecutor to actually confirm their helplessness, or for a rescuer to validate their need for support. They need validation for how they feel. Either way, they actually remain stuck in this passive role. Um, Beside of the three roles that we have in the drama triangle, there is also what we call role switching. And in project games or psychological games, people often switch roles in the middle of the conflict, meaning that a rescuer can become a persecutor when their help is rejected. Now, I'm just trying to help you, and you seem not to care. You seem not to perceive it like a help. You are not grateful at all for what I'm doing for you. Or a victim may also become a persecutor when they lash out. Or a persecutor becomes a victim when they are challenged. And this cycle can happen continuously, and it can keep teams trapped in this kind of emotional reactivity instead of moving towards resolution and towards solving things effectively. And just like in the ego state discussion, in order to break free from this kind of situation, we need to shift into the authentic adult behavior and trying to replace persecutor in this place with assertiveness, replace the rescuer with some support, but some support that empowers the other people. And also replace the victim with the awareness that it has this, or he or she has this self-responsibility, and they can really deal on their own. And in general, from how we actually play from each of these three positions of the drama triangle, three roles of the drama triangle, we also have this psychological game. Well, Eric Berne defines these games as a set of ulterior transactions, repetitive in nature, with a very well-defined payoff for the people that are involved in that psychological game. And these are socially dysfunctional patterns that we can fall into. It's most of the time unconsciously, when we are reacting from our past scripts rather from the present moment. And one way to analyze this kind of games is exactly through this Karpman drama triangle, which is mapping the three roles of the victim, persecutor, and savior. And an example of game can be this yes, but, and another game is that I'm only trying to help. And we have this example with Bob and Mary. Bob is starting the conversation in this victim role and is complaining about his job. My boss is always doing this and that. My activities are so boring, I can no longer stand it. But I cannot find another job at the moment. Whatever, Bob is complaining. And then Mary jumps into this rescuer role, offering solutions. And Bob is actually rejecting. Have you tried applying for another company? No, there are no openings on the market right now. Have you tried this? No, it will not work. Have you tried that? Nah, that is not good. And Bob would, if Mary continues to giving this kind of suggestion, Bob will eventually shift into the persecutor role of the triangle, when he will actually tell Mary, you know what, you are not helping me at all. Please, at least don't give me any suggestions, because it's really not helpful. And Mary now, she feels hurt. She doesn't really understand what have I done wrong, and she's doing this shift into the victim role, and both of them, Bob and Mary, are receiving what is called this psychological payoff. And it's actually the inner belief, because Bob is confirming from this interaction that he's having with Mary, his inner belief that no one can help me, whatever happens to me, no one is really able to help me. And also Mary is confirming her inner belief that she is not good enough. And this is somehow leading to neither person actually achieving a true connection or this sort of intimacy, which is not really referring to partner relationship, but rather to open, honest relationship that is game free, and where both of the individuals are giving and receiving freely without exploiting the other people to confirm an internal belief that I'm carrying with me. Another way to look, if you love decoding patterns, it's also very useful if you want to understand also the emotional architecture of games, is to look in this game formula. So all the interaction starts with this con, Krieg. When Bob is opening, Bob's opening con is this complaining about the fact that he's hating his job. And this is the gimmick, and this is actually hooking the Mary's need to make everything right for people. Because if Mary wouldn't have this need and it would be another person in the conversation, it would not lead to the same psychological game, for example. And in response, Mary comes with suggesting various things in order to solve the problem. And at the point of this interaction, during the response, here comes the switch. When after this several attempts, Bob turning down any suggestion that is coming out from Mary, Bob is throwing this switch and is telling Mary that you are not helping me at all. And this is somehow the crossing up of their interaction, when Mary is actually feeling confused, but I was here to help. You're not helping me at all. And they both have at the end this psychological payoff, which is for both of them a very familiar feeling. Is something that we have been used to, is something that we have felt again and again. And it's something that it's rooted very deep inside us. So whenever you feel like certain connections with certain people from your life are leading to this kind of cycle, and again, um, uh, you are getting into this kind of confusion, it might be a psychological game. How to avoid the games in general? Again, staying in the adult awareness and this reality checking. When Bob was initially complaining about his job, Mary could pause for a second and first ask, do you want help or do you want to vent? And if he would say, no, I just want to vent. Okay, then go ahead. Or yes, I would need some support. Then once he's saying that I need some support, that's okay, a proper moment, and it would eventually not lead to this entire situation because, okay, I have been asked for some support. Good. Why games?
Elena.
10 more? Oh, okay.
Seven,
No,
7, 10.
seven. No, it was so nice. I haven't even gone through many of the concepts I'm presenting you today for such a long time. And it has also been a pleasure for myself, remembering somehow and all this kind of information. So last one, why this type of games actually matter in project work, and you can also imagine, and these were easy examples and easy situations that I have give as examples in the slide, but reality can be even worse. We need to recognize this kind of games and we need to stay out of them and be able to avoid them, not to be driven into that direction. This was my last one actually. What we've explored today, I have just listed the concepts. They have been a few: ego states, drama triangle, life position, psychological game, and the game formula. I will also ask if there are any questions or if hope you enjoyed the session and found it useful, and you can also apply some of the concepts in your daily life.
Yes, and please, if you don't have access to the chat, you can unmute yourself and speak with Elena. She will be happy. Yes, if you have questions. When I saw first time the triangle, I was thinking maybe it's another type in the middle, like a hub one that doesn't have all of the other. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Dorina. If you have questions for Elena, yes, here in the
Uh,
center, a hub one, yes, like. If you don't have questions now for Elena, I think she is available on LinkedIn or email for you.
On
If
LinkedIn as
you,
well. And take time to digest the information. It's also something that no, needs a bit of time, reflection, and I'm sure you'll find all sort of information on the internet as well on the topic. There are all sort of books I can also recommend. Thank you so
yes,
much for
I,
your time, and I hope you are not sleeping, huh?
no,
You are
no,
still here
I
with
see
us.
messages right now. Someone is asking for the presentation, and
Super.
if Elena, it's
Just
okay
joking.
with this, we can share with all of you, of course. And we can add also the books, Elena, at the end.
Super.
It was an opening session. I'm definitely going to observe my team and myself. Yes. I tend to jump from adult to parent without asking if my colleagues are just venting or need help. Mm. You are okay, we are okay. This is for you, Elena, I think.
Thank you. Now I'm also reading them. It is always useful to recap this theory. When I first learned about it I was amazed as it explains a lot in people behavior. Indeed. Because some
It
people
was
have
a
it
new info.
naturally.
For me also, it was new info, Elena. Not for all of us, but it was interesting for us as a new uh,
Some
in
people
this.
have it naturally, and then it's very easy to communicate because it's also this case when you are naturally a very good communicator, but when you are not, and this is something that you can also learn. So, if I am to have a final thought on this, communication is something that we can definitely learn and we can improve.
Yes, because some of the comportments we are not doing them intentionally. Maybe if we don't work on them, w- we are the same. Yeah, we don't evolve.
Hmm. Exactly. To pause some time and also give us some time to reflect on what is actually going on. Whenever we feel an intense emotion, there is something more there than only the surface behavior. When something is really annoying us and we feel it in our entire body, there is something more there that needs to be explored.
Thank you, everyone. And now at the end, please, I'll put in the chat also the feedback form for the webinar. If you have any other recommendation for future events or what you learned today, we are waiting your responses there. Thank you again, Elena, that you are here with us, and see you soon.
Oh, see you
Who
tomorrow,
knows?
actually.
See you tomorrow. Yes, also at the PMI Infinity webinar, the next one from the trilogy. See you tomorrow, everyone. Thank you, Elena.
Thank you
Thank you
so
again,
much
and
and
have
have
a
a
Thank
good
good
night.
you.
day.
Have a good
Have a
night.
nice
Bye.
Have a nice
evening.
evening.
Bye.
Nice
Bye.
evening. Bye.
Bye
Very
bye.
much. Bye bye. Great evening. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.